Hey guys, I wanted to talk today about something that's a little bit of a deviation from my normal content, but I feel like it's important to talk about nonetheless. And that is anxiety. And part of why I think it's important to talk about is A, because a lot of people who are sensitive deal with anxiety. And B, one of the things that I'm really trying to make a conscious effort at working on is allowing myself to be vulnerable and be comfortable as one can be within vulnerability. So I have pretty much dealt with anxiety most of my life. I started having panic attacks around 8 or 9 years old. Um, Sometimes to the point of them being debilitating. And it is a challenge that I've had to learn to, I don't know if you'd say befriend or learn to live with and make the best of. And so I just wanted to share some things that have been helpful for me in case this is something you deal with as well. So the first thing is medication. I know in the spiritual world, a lot of people are sort of medication or science resistant. I've been on medication since my early 20s, and honestly, it's probably one of the things that has kept me here and functioning as a human being in everyday society. So, if you are someone, there's different types of anxiety. Everyone experiences situational anxiety. Some people deal with chronic anxiety. And if you're one of those people who have a brain or a chemistry balance that is imbalanced, there's no shame in seeking medication. There's no shame in seeking help. There's no shame in seeking therapy, because for some of us it is a chemical imbalance of the brain. Not to say that there aren't emotional and mental components, but the other thing, and this is something that has really kicked my ass lately, is the willingness to confront your shit and sit in your uncomfortability. I'm the type of person who I can disassociate very easily. Um, and I think part of surviving was for me to create a wall between my mind and my heart. And that served a purpose for about 10 years until recently when some wall came down and all of that shit that I had suppressed has welled back up. And so I've had to feel it, which is not my baseline state, but it's been healthy for me. It's not been comfortable. It's been painful, but it's also been beautiful, and I'm learning from it. But sometimes we don't let ourselves feel things, and it's almost like our nervous system gets jammed up. So I think when you're feeling anxiety, notice where you feel it in your body. Breathe into that space. Notice the emotions that come up and letting yourself sit in whatever it is: pain, fear, shame, uh, doubt, whatever's there. You have to feel it, otherwise it will eventually rear its head. And just breathe into it, and eventually you will start to feel some sort of a somatic shift. Doesn't mean it's going to go away, but it will shift a little bit. It will lessen, it will move, it will change. So that's probably the second thing that I would suggest. The other thing is sometimes when we are in some sort of anxious triggering, our fight or flight programming gets triggered. And so our body feels like we're in danger. And one of the easiest ways to soothe that flight response is to move. So this goes hand in hand with what we would call like grounding. And I don't mean like picturing your feet becoming roots, although if that's helpful for you, do that in the moment. But I mean anchoring yourself to the sensation of the physical and being very present in your body. It can be as simple as stretching. If you're in an office job, it could be excusing yourself and walking around the building. It could be more of a regular routine, whether it's yoga or jogging or, whatever it is that appeals to you. But that sort of soothes that flight or fight response, and sort of tricks the body into believing that you're moving away from danger. Although the caveat to that is if you're just trying to escape, it won't be as effective of a tool. So I think you have to feel first and then move to kind of help move that energy through the body. Other things that I have found helpful that kind of go hand in hand with that, EFT or emotional freedom technique has actually been very helpful for me. Sometimes people call it tapping, and it works with meridians and acupressure points on the body. And being that I've been in the sort of New Age community for a long time, I've seen a lot of things, and I think a lot of them are fads or pseudoscience, but I have found this to be very effective. So there's a guy on YouTube, his name is Brad Yates. His videos have actually been incredibly helpful for me, so that is something that I would definitely explore. A few other little tips and tricks that have been helpful for me are the energy medicine teachings of Donna Eden. When we're in sort of a panic state, one of the easiest things you can do is just hold your fingertips to your forehead. And what we do is we're really stimulating and bringing fresh energy to neurolymphatic points at the front of the head. Because when we're in a state of anxiety, we lose a lot of blood flow to the front, where we think and process and make sense of things in rational ways. There's also a meridian called triple warmer that runs through here, and we can sort of flush it or trace it backwards. One of the techniques that she teaches is to hold those points for a couple seconds, or a minute or two at least, and then slowly come down by the front of the ear, back down the neck, hook onto the shoulders, take some deep breaths here, using pressure, and then come down to the heart. We can also put our hands in front of us, cross and pull through, and then do some chest breath here. I know that there's also a ton of other things that I could suggest. For example, sunlight, being out in nature has been so grounding and so healing and kind of keeps me sane and helps clear my brain. But there are also other things like certain vitamins and living nutritiously and things like that, but I don't feel comfortable or qualified to speak on that because I'm not the most nutritious or health conscious person in that regard, and I feel like it would be hypocritical. Plus, I'm not qualified to give any sort of advice on supplements or dietary nutrition. But if you do struggle with anxiety, just know that most people do, to varying degrees. And sometimes your anxiety is going to fluctuate, sometimes for no apparent reason. But the more that you resist and push against it, it's like swimming against the current, or swimming against a wave. Eventually you're just going to be slammed against the rocks. So just try to be compassionate with yourself, try to be gentle with yourself, and know that if the pendulum is swinging one way, it's only a matter of time before it swings the other.